guys. Thank you for joining me for Queen Esther Day 4. So today we're going to be talking about chapters 5 and 6 in the book of Esther. But before we get started, we always do our highs and our lows. And my high as of right now is that it is a gorgeous day outside, and I am really looking forward to going outside and getting a little gardening done. So that's my high. My low is concerned for those individuals who are feeling trapped and uncertain and are frightened of the COVID-19 and everything going on in the world right now. So my prayers are with you, and I hope that God is able to bring you comfort. So let's get started. I'm actually paraphrasing, and we'll be reading a little bit out of the Bible, but then also telling some in my own words. This is just out of the NRSV Bible that we use at church. The reason I did not pick a children's story for this was because some of the details were lost in the children's stories. So that's why I'm paraphrasing. So bear with me, okay? So where we're picking up at, we had three main people. There's Queen Esther, who is married to the king, and the king is a very powerful man. And his laws with his signet ring can never be revoked. They are set in stone for as long as he's around, at least. And Haman, who is the king's most trusted servant or most trusted advisor. And then Mordecai. Mordecai is Queen Esther's cousin who raised her and adopted her. And Mordecai and Queen Esther are both Jewish, but nobody knows this, and they do not know that Mordecai raised Esther. So let's pick up where we left off. They had just finished with 3 days of prayer. All of Mordecai's family and kin and everybody he knows, and Queen Esther, they were praying about the law that had just been passed that would annihilate and kill all Jewish people. So Queen Esther puts on her royal robes, and she enters the inner court. And the king sees her, and she immediately won his favor. And he stretches out the golden scepter to her. And as she approaches, she puts her hand on the scepter, accepting that her life has been spared because it's illegal for her to approach the king. But he spares her life, and he says to her, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you, even to half of my kingdom." Well, Queen Esther says, "I would like to invite you to a banquet, you and Haman." And the king goes. In fact, he hurries Haman along so they can quickly go to this banquet. And after they are at the banquet, they feasted and had wine, the king says, "What would you like? I'll give you up to half my kingdom, anything you request." And Queen Esther says, "If it pleases you, come to a banquet again tomorrow." So the king and Haman agree, and they plan on going to the banquet. Well, Haman, the king's top advisor, was on his way home, and he saw Mordecai. And Mordecai, for the second time, did not bow to Haman. Now, this upset Haman. Haman went home to his wife, and he said, "Mordecai still is not bowing to me. I am in such an honored position. It's myself and the king who are being invited to Queen Esther's banquets. If this person does not bow to me, then really nothing means anything. All of my power means nothing." And the queen says, I'm sorry, not the queen. Haman's wife says to him, "You should tell the king tomorrow that Mordecai should be hung. So right now, go build a gallows. Go build a way to kill Mordecai." And Haman agrees. He thinks this is a pretty good idea. So he starts building the gallows in his yard that he will hang Mordecai on. Now, keeping in mind, Mordecai would have been killed anyway in just a few days because of the law that was supposed to kill all of the Jewish people. But Haman, he couldn't even wait that long. He was so upset by all of this. So that night, the king couldn't sleep. And when he couldn't sleep, he would read his annuals, or all of the things that had happened in his kingdom. And he reread the story about how Mordecai had overheard the plot to kill the king. And Mordecai had reported this plot and saved the king's life. The king asked his servant, he said, "Did we do anything to honor this man? To reward him?" The servant said, "No." So the king said, "Whoever's in my court, bring them in." So Haman comes into the king's chambers. And the king says, "What should a king do for somebody who they want to honor?" Now Haman knows he is the trusted advisor. He even has the king's signet ring. So he figures, the king's honoring me. And he says, "You should put royal robes on this person, robes you yourself have worn. And then put royal robes on the horse and a crown on a horse. Have this person ride this horse all around the square and say, 'Thus shall it be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor.'" And that way it's like a parade with royal robes and a crown on the horse. And this person is being announced by a top official that this person is being honored. And the king loves the idea. So he says, "Okay, go right now. You go do this for the Jewish man named Mordecai who sits at the gate." Haman had planned on hanging Mordecai, not honoring him in a parade. But sure enough, that's what he was doing. So what can we take from these two chapters? It looks like all that prayer that Mordecai and Esther did, praying and fasting in order to ask for protection and to be saved, it looks like it worked. Prayer works. So not only was Esther saved because the king held out the scepter, but Mordecai was saved from the gallows. Now, do you think when they were praying that they had any idea that Mordecai was about to be hung by Haman? I don't think so. That means God answers our prayers in ways that are bigger and better than even we can imagine while we're praying them. That's pretty cool. So now Mordecai's life has been saved and Queen Esther's life has been saved. But we still have the date on the books that says all of the Jewish people will be annihilated and killed. And Mordecai is still one of those Jewish people. But no one knows that yet. There's one last banquet that the queen has invited everybody to. So we'll have to see in the next chapters 7, 8, and 9, what happens. So would you like to know what your activity is for today? So I think parents will like this one. So kids, make a feast, make a banquet for your parents. It could be anything you know how to cook. If the only thing you know how to cook is peanut butter and jelly, make them a banquet of peanut butter and jelly with carrots and potato chips. If you think you can do a bigger meal or maybe need a little advice, you could probably get that. But make a banquet, make a feast, honor your parents. Let's end with prayers and blessings. My prayer is that everybody who is out there listening and everybody who is not able to listen or not able to watch this, but everybody that is praying and part of our Christian community has their prayers answered bigger and better than they could ever imagine. Amen. Blessings to you. Kids, bless your parents. Parents, bless your kids. I will see you next time.